He was just a former soldier hoping for a peaceful trip with the woman he loved, but the jungle had other plans. In the blink of an eye, she vanished, taken by something not human. As he wandered deeper into the unknown, searching, hoping, he met a stranger. And for a while, it felt like he wasn't alone in this nightmare. But even that didn't last. The jungle took his only friend too. One by one, everything he cared about was ripped away, leaving him with nothing but rage and a haunting silence. Now with love lost and hope shattered, he's going after the monster that took it all. This isn't just a fight for survival, it's a fight for revenge. Welcome to today's movie explanation. Former soldier Trailer Laird sets out on a journey deep into the wilderness with his girlfriend Natalia. As they wander through the forest, they stumble upon a hidden waterfall tucked away in the heart of the jungle. It wasn't just beautiful, it felt otherworldly. Crystal clear water cascaded down from tall cliffs, the soft roar of the stream echoing through the still air, spreading a calm that felt both surreal and sacred. For a long time, they stood there in silence, soaking in the mist, the cool breeze, and the rhythm of nature. As the evening settled in, Trailer gently placed a shawl over Natalia's shoulders. The light was fading, and the jungle was slowly being swallowed by shadows. They set up a small tent and sat close together, telling stories, their voices blending softly with the sounds of the night. But this place was never meant to be safe. And as time passed, their laughter faded, replaced by a silence that felt too heavy. Eventually, they both tried to sleep, but only Trailer managed to. Natalia, restless and uneasy, kept hearing something, faint, distant, like footsteps crunching the forest floor. She whispered to Trailer, telling him about the sound, but he dismissed it with a tired smile. Still, a strange unease crept into his chest. He reached for his gun and stepped outside to check. Natalia, now trembling, grabbed his hand and pulled, her voice shaking as she said, "Trailer, peace sight. Please don't go. I don't know what it is, but something's out there. I can feel it." Trailer looked into her eyes, then gently pulled away. And without another word, he walked into the darkness, alone, silent, and unaware of what was waiting beyond the trees. Natalia stood frozen behind him, staring into the night, where the silence no longer felt empty, but alive. Suddenly, a piercing scream tears through the silence. Natalia's voice, soaked in fear and horror, echoing through the dark forest like a knife through the night. Trailer freezes, his heart skipping a beat. And then, without wasting a second, he starts running, his breath sharp, his footsteps frantic. But when he reaches the spot, he stops cold. Natalia is gone, completely, as if she was never there. The fire is out, the tent has vanished, and even their belongings are nowhere to be found. Trailer stands there, shocked, sweating, and completely alone, in the very place where just moments ago they were laughing and sharing stories. He searches like a madman, calling out her name again and again, but there's no answer, no sign, nothing. The trauma begins to crack his mind. He loses his grip on reality. Eventually, when he calms down a little, he talks to his mother, and she tells him to go back into that forest, to search again. So, he begins preparing, marking locations on a map, carefully planning his route. He packs his bag with ammo, food, a weapon, and sets out once more, driven by desperation. When he finally arrives, the jungle feels different, darker. He notices deep claw marks scratched into tree trunks, massive, brutal, signs of something wild, something dangerous. As he moves forward, he spots giant footprints on the forest floor, followed by something more disturbing, skulls, small ones, hung from trees by thin ropes, swaying gently in the wind. He doesn't know what they mean, but his gut tells him, this place hides something terrible. The jungle stretches endlessly, a tangled maze of silence and shadows. But now, something unseen begins following him, watching, tracking. Still, Trailer pushes forward, refusing to stop. Soon he finds a river and takes the chance to refill his bottle. One of the few moments of relief he's had in days. Days pass like this, tense, sleepless, haunted. One night, exhausted and broken, he dozes off inside his car. The forest is quiet, eerily so, just the occasional distant calls of the wild. But suddenly, the silence shatters. Something massive crashes onto the roof of the car with a deafening thud. The vehicle shakes violently, like a predator pouncing on trapped prey. Trailer jerks awake in panic. Instinct kicks in. He grabs his gun and fires, once, twice, again and again. But no matter how many times he shoots, nothing hits, nothing screams, nothing runs, and that is somehow even more terrifying. Right after that, a middle-aged man slowly walks toward him, an old rifle slung across his shoulder. "Name's Jack," he says, his voice calm but firm. "I've been hunting in this forest since I was a kid. Every tree, every sound, I know them all. I heard your gunshots. and came running. Trailer, though slightly relieved, still feels a chill deep inside. Without wasting time, he tells Jack everything about Natalia disappearing, their camp vanishing, and the strange, inexplicable sounds in the forest. Jack listens quietly. Then, in a low voice, he says, "You shouldn't stay here. Not for a moment. My camp's nearby. There's light, there's fire, and you won't be alone." Without hesitation, Trailer follows him. Together, they walk into the eerie, whispering jungle, leaving behind the car, and maybe, unknowingly, something that still lurks in the shadows, following them step by step. At the camp, Jack begins to share terrifying stories about the forest, the nights filled with unnatural sounds, shadowy figures moving through the trees, and people who go missing, never to be found again. A cold shiver runs down Trailer's spine. In his mind, that dreadful night replays. Natalia's disappearance, the same footsteps he heard. He had tried convincing himself it was all just imagination, but Jack's words make it all feel horribly real again. Still, one question haunts him. How has Jack survived here for so long? Is he really just a hunter? Or is there something more? The next morning, Jack takes him deeper into the jungle, and suddenly, they arrive at a horrifying sight, a skeleton hanging from a tree. Trailer had seen it before but didn't realize its meaning. Jack, in a grim tone, says, "This isn't random. When the skull is hung facing outward, it's a warning. Beyond this point, no one should pass. It's a tribal marker, an ancient sign of danger." He sighs, then adds, "Long ago, a tribe used to live here. They were hiding something from the world, something inhuman, something unspeakable." Trailer listens, frozen. Jack lowers his voice. "People say it's just a myth, but I've heard it since I was a child. A monstrous figure lives in these woods. Not a bear, not any known animal. A giant, deformed creature, part man, part nightmare. A being that thrives in darkness." As the sun sets, they return to their camp. But the moment they arrive, they freeze. Everything is in chaos. The camp's been torn apart. Their bags are scattered across the ground. The fire they lit, completely extinguished. And then, it happens. A blood-curdling scream pierces the jungle, a scream not made by any human. The sound is raw, savage, and bone-chilling. Trailer feels goosebumps all over his skin. Both men grab their guns without a word and start moving, silently, carefully, through the trees, following the source of that horrifying cry. Their headlamps cut through the darkness, each step drawing them deeper into the unknown. Finally, they reach the tree they had seen the day before, the one with the hanging skull. But now, it's gone. Only a rusted chain sways gently in the wind. In the very next moment, Trailer spots something moving in the distance, something swaying in the interplay of light and shadow. It might be human, but he can't be sure. The two of them grab their guns and rush toward it. Suddenly, Trailer's foot gets stuck in a gap between two solid patches of ground. He loses balance and falls flat on his face. As he tries to stand up, wincing in pain, his eyes drift downward, and his breath catches in his throat. Scattered all around his feet are human skeletons, and judging by their condition, they aren't that old. Jack comes up beside him, and the two of them fall into a heavy silence. There's no sound, only the pounding of their hearts. It becomes horrifyingly clear. Someone, or something, has been killing people here for years, and no one ever found out. This forest runs by its own rules, and at the top of those rules lurks something unspeakable. Just then, out of nowhere, a heavy rock flies through the air and slams into Jack's leg. The sickening crunch of breaking bone is followed by a scream of agony. Jack collapses to the ground. Trailer looks around in panic but sees nothing, just a flicker of a shadow slipping between the trees, vanishing again. They realize they're no longer the hunters, they're the prey now. Trailer quickly hoists Jack over his shoulder and drags him to a safer spot. But there's a problem. Jack needs medicine, and the only medical supplies they have were left behind in Trailer's bag. He hands Jack a gun and tells him to wait while he goes back to retrieve it. Slowly and cautiously, Trailer returns to the same place where the skeletons lay. He grabs the bag, but just as he's about to leave, his eyes fall on something on the ground, an old ring, and in that moment, he breaks down. It's the ring he once placed on Natalia's finger with his own hands. The truth hits him like a knife. She's gone. His girlfriend is dead. These bones, this ring, they belong to her. His eyes fill with tears as he runs back to Jack, who helps patch up his wounded leg. Then, the two of them make their way toward the river, hoping to find some form of refuge in the shadows of an unforgiving wilderness. There, Trailer lights 4 small fires in a circle and places Jack at the center. He gently motivates him, telling him to stay calm, because if he makes a sound, the creature will come. Suddenly, both of them hear that terrifying sound again. Those same footsteps. Traylord switches on his torch and starts firing toward the noise. But after a while, he notices the footsteps have stopped. Silence returns. And that's how they spend the rest of the night, tense, alert, but alive. By morning, Traylord goes out to fish since all their food supplies have run out. They somehow survive for the next few days, living on whatever they can find. But things begin to get harder, much harder. Traylord knows very well staying in one place too long is dangerous. So they start moving from one side of the jungle to another, always staying on the move. One night, Jack says there's only one way out of here, the path that leads right through the territory of the creature. But the creature is massive, and killing it is nearly impossible. They sit there, unable to come up with a plan, and slowly, both their bodies begin to give in to exhaustion and illness. At dawn, the touch of the cold morning air wakes Traylord. As his eyes open, the first thing he notices, Jack is gone. The campfire has long since died out. Everything is silent. Too silent. Something feels off. With fear in his chest, Traylord rushes out to look for him. As he pushes through the misty forest, he suddenly spots Jack's glasses lying on the ground, and right next to them, his gun. Dread sinks in like ice in his veins. And then, just seconds later, a heartbreaking scream pierces the air. From a distance, from deep within the trees, it's Jack's voice. Without wasting a second, Traylord runs toward the source of the scream, and the moment he gets there, his eyes go wide in horror. A massive creature, its body covered in thick matted fur, teeth sharp like jagged stone, eyes filled with raw rage, is tearing Jack apart and devouring him piece by piece. Blood splatters across the trees, and around them, a suffocating silence wraps the forest like a blanket of death. Traylord forgets to breathe. Still, with trembling hands, he lifts his gun and fires toward the monster, but he misses. The creature pauses for a second and turns its blood-soaked face toward him. In that one glance, Traylord doesn't feel like a man anymore. He feels like prey, waiting for teeth to sink into his flesh. He turns and starts running, but the creature catches him easily and begins slamming him violently against the ground. In desperation, Traylord empties every last bullet into the beast. Somehow, it lets out a roar and retreats into the woods. But Traylord knows it's not dead. Not yet. He lights a fire at the spot and makes a decision. He will avenge the deaths of Jack and his girlfriend. He cleans his wounds and stitches them up the best he can. Then he takes his knife and fashions it into a makeshift weapon. Slowly, painfully, he makes his way back to the wrecked car. From there, he collects everything he needs. Then, pushing Jack's old car, he brings it into the clearing, the same spot where he lit the fire before. He uses the car battery to set up the lights, and then, with a roar that shakes the earth, the creature returns. The sky feels like it's trembling. Mist hangs in the air, and even the wind goes still. The monster charges toward the car first, flipping it with a single blow. The metallic crash echoes through the forest. In that moment, it's clear. The beast is beyond enraged now. Traylord wastes no time. With his sharpened weapon, he strikes again and again at the creature's legs. The beast howls like a wild animal, but it doesn't back down. In fact, it grows more violent, lunging toward him. At that exact moment, Traylord pulls out his gun and starts firing. This time, not a single bullet misses. Each one hits the creature dead on. It stumbles back, its roar ripping through the sky. But Traylord doesn't stop. He knows this is the only chance. He glances around and his eyes lock onto a gas cylinder. He aims and fires. A massive explosion tears through the clearing. Flames spread in every direction, igniting the petrol Traylord had poured earlier. The monster's fur catches fire, and its enormous body begins to burn. It screams, thrashes, then bolts into the depths of the jungle, leaving behind a blazing trail and the ashes of a nightmare. Eventually, even its roars fade into silence, replaced only by the crackle of burning wood and the heavy smell of smoke in the jungle's chest. Meanwhile, Traylord somehow makes it out of the forest. By sheer luck, as morning breaks, a driver spots him and rushes him to the hospital. When he finally wakes up, he finds himself in a hospital bed. Sitting beside him is a man named Jackson. Jackson calmly tells him, "Every word you said, it's all true. That creature is real. But the problem is, you didn't kill it. It's still out there, living deep in the jungle." Jackson reveals that he's been trying to hunt the monster for years. In fact, they've formed an entire mission dedicated to taking it down. And now, he invites Traylord to join their team. And that is where this story ends. How did you like today's tale? Don't forget to leave a comment and let us know. And thank you so much for watching the video.